What's good, people? This is the Easy Pain Child Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, here with our next special guest in the building. And this special guest, I'm going to go ahead and first introduce them. And before I do that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. We have Mr. Christopher Scanlon, a South Buffalo native. He attended Thomas Aquinas School. He graduated from Bishop Timon St. Jude High School, earned business administration a degree from Erie Community College and Buffalo State University. His father was a prominent political figure who served as an aide for 2 Buffalo mayors. Scanlon was appointed to be a Buffalo Common Council in 2012 to represent the South District. He helped lead Mayor Brown's successful 2021 write-in campaign. In 2024, Mr. Scanlon became a council president and was later named an acting mayor of Buffalo, New York, after Mr. Brown's resignation. And today we have him on this show. It's not gonna be a really long conversation, but we're gonna touch base on amazing things that he has been planning and doing for Buffalo, New York. But how are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me in.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. I mean, you are a busy man. I mean, I've tried to reach out to you so many times, but with your schedule being all over the place, I'm thankful to have you here. But before we even start, I mean, I actually gave people a little gist about your background, but take us back to the first time when everything started up for you, like where you was born and everything going forward.
So born and raised here in the city of Buffalo, in South Buffalo, one of 7 children, 6 boys and a girl. Parents, very hardworking, working class. My father worked as a laborer for the city of Buffalo and a grain scooper in the grain elevators down on in the waterfront in the First Ward. My parents sacrificed a lot for my brothers, my sister, and I to make sure that we had the things we needed. As a parent now, I realize just how much they sacrificed in order for us to not go without. And now I'm the father of 3. My wife Katie and I are raising our kids here in the city of Buffalo. We could have gone anywhere. We could have chosen to raise our kids anywhere. We wanted to raise them here in Buffalo to make sure that we're part of Buffalo's success.
Right.
And I have a young boy, 2 young girls, and I want to make sure that we're making Buffalo the best version of itself so that they and everyone else's children and grandchildren, their families have all the opportunities that they could possibly have.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, people don't really know how amazing Buffalo could be. And we appreciate you for actually staying here and, serving the city of Buffalo for as long as you have been serving the city of Buffalo. So one thing I like to ask a lot of the people, that's actually, running for mayor that I've had on this channel is their priorities. So what is your top priority for the city if elected? Let's take a break right now. If you haven't done so, go ahead and grab you some popcorn, get you some water, and come back to this video. But before we even do that, I'm going to remind you that this video is being sponsored by Simba Production. Simba Production has always been the Buffalo leading media production companies that have worked worldwide. Simba Production, if you live in different state, different country, you can still book Simba Production. And don't forget to say that Glory sent you. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the video.
It'd be tough to give just one.
Right.
But first and foremost, we have to fix our financial situation. If we don't do that, it's going to be difficult for us to do a lot of the things we want to do, provide the services we want to at the level we want to. So again, addressing our financial situation, which we've begun to do. When I arrived in the mayor's office in October, we were faced with a $17 million deficit for the current year. We were able to close that gap and actually we're trending towards a surplus for this year. We were faced with a $70 million gap for the upcoming year. But we were able to tighten our belt, change some of our spending habits. We're not hiring a lot of positions. There's $10 million in cuts throughout the department, $16 million in savings through vacancy control measures, and got creative with a couple other revenues and brought them into the fold to make sure that we're addressing the financial situation. Also, public safety is a major component of my campaign. We want to make sure that people are safe. If we're not keeping people safe, it's difficult for them to do much else. We want people to feel comfortable walking to the corner store, to the restaurant in their neighborhood, whatever it might be. So we have officers now out walking throughout neighborhoods, getting to know people, interacting with our business owners, our residents, so that people feel more comfortable with our police officers.
Yeah,
We're trying to close that gap between community and policing. One of the things our officers who've all volunteered for this new foot patrol integration unit. It's not something they're forced to do. It's something they all volunteered to do. So they're excited to do it. They're also out giving a survey to every business and every home in the city. So they have a say in how they're policed. And we can take some of that feedback and let that steer some of the policy in the future. And then the other one is housing. The city of Buffalo and its partners, whether it's different levels of government or nonprofit organizations, we've done a good job the last 10, 12 years, I believe, in bringing thousands and thousands of affordable rental units online. But I want to build houses. I want to put people in homes and, provide that opportunity for them to create the equity and generational wealth that comes along with home ownership. And simultaneously, we're opening a financial empowerment center to make sure that people know that what the responsibilities are of home ownership, because it's not easy. There's a lot of different things that people might not realize that you're responsible for. So we want to make sure we're working with Bloomberg Philanthropies to create that financial empowerment center so people know all the responsibilities of that, and help close the wealth gap that exists here in the city of Buffalo.
Yeah, most definitely. And I like when people do actually come forward and they know exactly what they want to do before they even get into that position of doing it. So and going back to just the economy itself, Buffalo is filled with a lot of small businesses. And those small businesses are what makes Buffalo what it is today. If you go on the street like Elmwood Street, you'll see so many different businesses that that bring a lot of joy to Buffalo, diversity, and so on. If you go down to on Grain Street, same exact thing. So, what do you plan in supporting, small businesses and especially as well minority-owned businesses as well in the city of Buffalo?
Yeah, so one of the great things about the city of Buffalo is all the different neighborhoods that we have, and those commercial corridors through those neighborhoods are the lifeblood of it. And what gives those commercial corridors their identity are those small businesses. And so, during my time in office, I've been extremely supportive of small business. We've put together, when I was just the South District Councilman, we put together different initiatives to help small business. We created shop local events, a farmers market that we still run to this day, things to highlight other small businesses. We put together a small business grant program that brought funds to our small businesses to help support them. That was then replicated citywide. That brought nearly $4 million into the fold to small businesses. Just a couple weeks ago, 10 days ago or so, we announced the Small Business Advisory Panel, which has not existed in the past. We have people from every corner, every neighborhood of the city of Buffalo on this advisory panel to make sure that we know what kind of issues that small businesses are facing. Also, want to learn what's going well so we can build upon it. And then in conjunction with that, we announced another grant program for small businesses through the Office of Strategic Planning and the Buffalo Urban Renewal Agency, we'll give out grants to small businesses of 50 or fewer employees to make sure that we can help them improve their bottom line and they can flourish well into the future.
Yeah, and I feel like, a lot of things that you mentioned, the funny thing is the media do not really show it as much, which is something that's very confusing because a lot of people in Buffalo usually hear it from somebody else and think like something is not being done in the city of Buffalo. But how will you plan in order for you and your campaign, to work with the media and be able to let out that information constantly, to the Buffalo community? Because we need to hear those things. If we're not hearing it, we're gonna, either feel as if nobody's doing anything for us.
Yeah, if people don't know about the programs that are available, right, they might as well not exist.
Right.
If you can't take advantage of them. So there's an education component to all of this. We work with the media very well. I believe that we are extremely transparent with the media and engaging with the media, want to get out as much information as possible to people. But we'll continue to do that. Obviously, like I said, if people don't know the programs that are available to them, they might as well not exist. So it's a matter of educating people on what exists.
Yeah, most definitely. Speaking of public safety, you've mentioned, I have some friends who are in the police departments and stuff like that. And I like how with the new program, just the full patrol, because a lot of times one thing that we're missing as a Buffalo community is that strong relationship with our police force. Like we don't get to meet with them, talk to them. I used to coach with Soccer for Success, and every time an officer will actually walk up to the park and speak to us, I'll have a conversation with them and so on. And also, speaking of public safety, there's a lot of crime in Buffalo that, recently one of my friend, his brother was just shot somewhere here in Buffalo, dead, and it was very sudden. In what ways will you address concerns around crime and public safety? I mean, to the city, and I know once you are elected as a mayor, what will you do in order to continue to allow officers to be more engaged in the community?
Yeah. Well, first, I'm very sorry to hear about that.
Yes,
And we can't allow things like this to happen in the city. But if we want to do everything we can to try and prevent all of that, as I mentioned, that foot patrol integration unit, I think the fact that they'll be out and more visible in communities will serve as a deterrent to a lot of it. But again, we're trying to close the gap between the community and the policing and police officers. I think a lot of times people might even be uncomfortable approaching a police officer to talk to them. We're encouraging people. If you see an officer walking through your neighborhood, approach them, talk to them, have a conversation with them. They want to be engaged. They want to have a conversation so they know what's going on in the community and how they can be of assistance. So we'll continue to do that. We'll work with our new police commissioner, Alfonso Wright, to make sure we're implementing any programs we can to close that gap between community and policing. And if you see an officer driving around a car, that's a barrier between the community and a police officer, right? So when they're out of the car and they're out walking around engaging with the community, I think it changes the feeling between community and the officer. So again, we'll continue to improve upon that program and implement others to do whatever we can to make sure the community feels more comfortable with our officers, but also that they're seen and serving as a deterrent. We've got an incredible group of officers here in the city of Buffalo who do a tremendous job every day, leave their house not knowing what they're going to encounter, and they deal with some of the worst stuff that you can deal with. And so it's a matter of supporting them and making sure that they have the resources and the tools necessary to do their job. But again, simultaneously making sure that the community is comfortable with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's true because people do miss the fact that police officers are also human beings.
Yeah.
They're out there, they have families to go back to, and a lot of them, they're there to work and serve the community. I mean, we do see a lot of things on the media where maybe one officer have done something and we try to blame it on all the, police community.
And the officers that are out walking in this patrol, I can tell you this, I've talked to some of them. They are marveled by what it's done for them personally already. Just a couple of months, they're out. They say, you know what? They feel better coming and going home from work, coming to and going home from work. They're sleeping better. So they feel great about the program and want to continue to engage with people.
And speaking about that program, you have been a biggest advocate for mental health by far. And I've listened to you speak to how, some people in your family were affected with mental health issues. In Buffalo, there are so many people who are dealing with those mental health crises and in need for help. So what will you do to make sure that those people are supported and heard?
Yeah, I've been impacted directly, lost a number of people in my life to mental health issues, and it's something that I'm very passionate about addressing. For years, we've been trying to get everyone on the same page when it comes to addressing mental health. I think things were kind of spread far and wide, and we've just established a tremendous partnership recently with Erie County, the Erie County Sheriff's Office, Buffalo Police, and a number of Erie County Medical Center, and a number of other tremendous mental health providers called the Crisis to Care Collaborative, which is a call, respond, go model where it's when we have these mental health calls, we're trying to avoid some of the policing that takes place with other services provided. So instead of them being taken to the holding center or something like that, we're working with partners that will increase the number of beds available to people with mental health issues. All the service agencies are on board, so to be able to provide additional services. So I think this program, the fact that the county, the city, Erie County Medical Center, and all these other providers are involved is going to be a huge benefit.
Yeah, and also kind of related to mental health, in terms of education, there's a lot of students who deal with mental health issues at home, which actually, which actually makes some of them drop out of school. Some of them don't really have to, they don't even get to continue to even go throughout like finishing up the high school diploma or even going in further education like college. And in speaking of like just the education in general, what do you plan in doing to improve Buffalo public school system? Because we have heard a lot of things going on in the media, and a lot of parents, a lot of individuals that have spoken to me and actually told me, okay, these will be the questions that you would try to, just ask the mayors, ask just anybody, the lawmakers, and what they can do to the Buffalo public schools. What will you do in order, to help those students who are struggling, not just outside of school, but also in school, and also just with the Buffalo public school system itself?
So one of the things I talk about all the time is partnerships and collaboration and making sure we're all working together. And I think I established quickly as mayor a great relationship with the Buffalo Public Schools, the superintendent. Unfortunately, the superintendent is now leaving. We'll receive a new superintendent and plan to establish a quick relationship with whomever the superintendent winds up being. A prime example of that is this past fall, we were able to pass the city's largest capital budget in the city's history. It was $110 million, 55 of that for the schools, to make sure that their buildings are safe, their classrooms are adequate for learning conditions, teaching conditions, things like that. But a lot of times you'll get someone, whether it's a mayor or someone else in that position in a municipality, kind of shy away from schools. It can get pretty contentious and maybe politically is not great for them. That's not something we're looking to do. It's not something I'm looking to do. I want to be involved. I want to make sure we're a partner with the schools. What I'd like to see is a situation where maybe the mayor has a couple of appointees to the Board of Education so that we are directly involved. The city of Buffalo gives the Buffalo Public Schools money every year from our revenues. They get a certain portion of it, but we don't get a say in any of that then. The money goes and then the Board of Education takes care of that. I'd like to have more say in how things are run. So whether it's a couple of mayoral appointments to the Board of Education or something else, we'll try and figure that out.
Yeah, most. I mean, you have your kids. Your kids will be going to school.
Yeah.
So as a parent yourself, it makes more sense. Let's talk about housing, because you also mentioned that as one of your priorities as well. In Buffalo, you go to certain areas where houses are very, very expensive. Some people may not be able to afford it, and then most people in Buffalo are able to just rent. A lot of them are now homeowners and so on. What are your plans in, affordable housing in Buffalo? And talking about homelessness as well, it's a lot of people in Buffalo that live on the streets. Yeah. And we don't want Buffalo to look like, let me say, LA. LA is a lot of homeless people that are always on the street and so on. They have their shelters and so on. But what will you do in order to support all the people in terms of housing and affordability?
So housing's a major issue, right. And it's not just here in Buffalo. There's a shortage across the country. And the problem is we don't have enough of a stock. We don't have enough of supply. But the city of Buffalo owns 7,000 vacant lots, and we plan to start building on them. We have a tremendous partnership established now with the county and the land bank, where we're building 110 homes over the next year and a half, 2 years. 70 of those on the east side of Buffalo. We have another program we just announced 2 days ago. Yesterday, maybe. I'm confused. The days are going so fast. Right. But just this week announced a program where another 51 lots that the city owns, put an RFP out for some builders to come in and try and build on those lots as well. And if we continue to build homes and increase the supply, I think you'll see a leveling out of some of the home prices, maybe not some of the bidding wars that you've experienced. And again, with our partnerships, there's some subsidies attached to some of those homes, or removal of some of the costs associated with land acquisition that will make the homes less costly to build, and therefore more affordable for people to purchase and move into. And when it comes to the homelessness population, I say this all the time, that homelessness is not the symptom, it's the byproduct, right? So whether someone has, like we talked about, some mental health issues or some substance abuse issues or, things like that, we're working with our partners, whether it's the Crisis to Care Collaborative that I talked about that we launched, or our other partners, to make sure that we're treating the root problem and getting people the wraparound services that they need.
Yeah, most definitely. That makes sense, because I've come across some people who are homeless, and I've always asked them, what happened? How did you end up becoming homeless? And most of them, it happened through drugs, substance abuse, or even just, a lot of them may be veterans that came from war and coming back to the country, and they did not receive the support that they were looking to be receiving, and
Yeah,
they
which
give
can't
up on
happen.
life.
We
Yeah.
can't have that happen. Let our veterans go off and
Yeah.
protect and defend our country and then come home and not have the resources or the services provided to them. So that's a matter of us working with our different partners, the county, the state, the federal government, to make sure that because that cannot happen.
Yeah.
We can't allow that to happen.
Most definitely. And I like to also speak about just equity. How will your administration support racial and economic equity? One example is, I like to bring it up, is I also brought it up when I had other mayoral candidates here, is that one of my brothers, he was opening up a lounge. It's a hookah lounge and stuff like that. So the lounge that he was trying to open up, he was trying to open it up right there on Grant, but for some reason he was not accepted to open up the lounge there. And as you know, with a small business, everybody's working hard, to feed their families. We're all here in America, to have that opportunity. And he did feel some type of way, and he actually reached out to me and said, "Can you ask them this question? What would they do for just either the black-owned businesses that's trying to open a business somewhere where a lot of the people are a different race and they're not accepting them to build that business there? How would the mayor help us, be able to have a business there that can help our families as well?" So I wanted to just ask you, just in terms of support in terms of racial and economic equity, what would you do?
Well, diversity here in the city of Buffalo is one of our strengths.
Right.
We have such a diverse group of residents. So, and diversity in commercial corridors or neighborhoods is what gives it its strength, and it gives it its identity. So, whatever we can do to make sure that we are supporting those businesses, again, whether it's through our grant program or our advisory council, if they're seeing issues that they're facing, please reach out to us. What I want to see is anyone who wants to open a business have the opportunity to open a business. Just like anyone who wants to make Buffalo their home has the opportunity to make Buffalo their home. Again, our diversity is one of our great strengths. Our new Buffalonians, our new Americans have led to our first population increase in 70 years. They've helped contribute to that. So we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to make sure that our community and our business owners and whatever are as diverse as possible, because when you have people coming from different backgrounds, opening up different types of businesses, giving people other different types of options, whether it's restaurants and different types of foods or business opportunities like you're talking about, the more diverse offerings, the better for a neighborhood. And more people are likely to move next to that neighborhood because there's diverse offerings. So we'll continue to support the small business community however we can.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you for that answer. And we're getting closer to the end because I know you have a busy schedule and you have somewhere to be. But, a lot of people haven't really heard, a lot of, how can I formulate this question? In terms of just transparency and accountability, a lot of people haven't really heard as much from the Buffalo, either lawmakers and so on. But how will you be transparent with the community of Buffalo just going forward once this election is over and you are elected to be the mayor of Buffalo? How would you be transparent and also just holding certain people accountable while you're in your position?
Well, I mentioned earlier partnerships, and one of the key partnerships is the city of Buffalo and the residents, probably the most key partnership. And so what we'll continue to do is go out and talk to the community and make sure when we're talking to the community, what we want to do is hear from them about what they want to see in their neighborhood. What I'm not going to do and what my team will not do is come out and dictate to a community and say, this is what's coming to your neighborhood. We want to hear what people want in their neighborhood. Then it's on us to deliver that for them. We're a customer service business, City of Buffalo. And so partnerships and communicating with our residents is how I think we hold ourselves accountable and go out and talk to the community. Don't stay in City Hall and do our thing, but we're out in the community, meeting with people, talking to people. I can tell you that in my 8 months as mayor, that has been the best part of the job. Meeting new people, working with organizations that I hadn't had the opportunity to meet or get to work with when I was representing one district. That's been the best part of the job. And so I think moving forward, the fact that we are now establishing these relationships and building these relationships they'll continue to flourish and help the city of Buffalo. So hold ourselves accountable by making sure we're out communicating with the public.
Yeah, most definitely. My last question I always ask all my guests is basically, what message do you have for the young kids, especially kids who are looking to pursue different opportunities in life? Some kids want to be mayors one day. Some kids want to be police officers. Some want to be doctors, nurses, and even lawyers. But what message do you have for them to continue to move forward and just have the resilience to never give up?
Well, I think that's it, to persevere, right? Whatever it is you want to do, don't let anyone dissuade you. Stick to it. If you need assistance, reach out. There's a lot of people out there willing to help, a lot of organizations out there willing to help. Again, so whatever it is you're looking to do, get involved early, pursue it early, and stick to it. And then don't be afraid to ask for assistance along the way.
Most definitely. Don't be afraid to ask for assistance. But if you did enjoy this episode, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. This is East Sip Child Podcast. And like I always say, I'm going to continue to work hard to bring as many amazing guests on this platform. And don't forget to go vote. Go vote. Make
Correct.
your best decision. And thank you so much, Mr. Christopher.
Thank you for
Scanlon.
having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.